If you've never read any of these authors before, this is where you should start. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I'm taking you through some of the romance authors that I think nobody has heard of, but you definitely need to read. These are some of my favourite authors that I feel like absolutely nobody in the book community talks about. Nobody really has read a lot of their books, but that is something that absolutely needs to change. First on the list, and someone that you should definitely check out, is Lindsay James. She's been writing for about 7 or 8 years now, and she's working currently on her 9th and 10th book, but there is so much to discover from what she's done before. She's written a couple of series, she's written a couple of standalones, but for me, her most standout book is The Single Dad's Handbook, which came out last April. It follows Evan, who has just lost his wife to breast cancer and is now struggling with raising their 5-year-old child completely on his own, when he finds a group of letters that Claire has left behind for him for when things are starting to get a little bit difficult, when he doesn't really know what advice that he should give to Violet, when she's kind of acting up a little bit, when she's going through things that maybe having a mother's opinion might be a really good idea on. She's also written a really lovely series which is set in the fictional town of Luna Bay, and if you like kind of seaside romances, cute and quaint cafes, this is definitely going to be up your street. If that's the kind of vibe that you're going for, cute, cozy, quaint, then definitely also check out Porsche Mcintosh's books. As far as I can remember, I don't think Porsche has written any series, so all of her books can be read completely independently from each other. You don't need to know what's happened in this one to see what's going to happen in this one, and I don't think that there's a whole lot of crossover where characters from this one will appear as a side character in this one. Porsche has written, I think, about 14 or 15 books by now, but there are two that absolutely stand out for me. The first one is Stuck on You, which is a couple of years old by now, and it's a Christmas-themed romance, so it's definitely one that you should leave for the later months of the year. It follows Sadie, who is not having the best time at work. Her boss is a little bit of a dictator and a little bit of a whiplasher, but she escapes back to her little quaint hometown for Christmas and starts to take pity on her boss Damien because it seems he doesn't have anybody that he's going to be able to spend Christmas with. Sadie has also been having a kind of post-it relationship with somebody with whom she hot desks. So they're sharing the desks on days that either of them are in the office, but they've never seen each other face to face. A lot of the messages that are being left on these post-it notes are kind of complaining about what their boss is like, and she's really starting to feel a connection with this guy. However, when Sadie goes back to her home place and brings Damien with her, she starts to realise he is not the devil that she thinks that he is. Something that I really loved about this book, and I have spoken about it in a video that I did about books where I'd love to spend Christmas in, is that the town has a load of Christmas traditions that they all go through. Sadie's family, for example, all run around the clock and try to beat each other out by sending the most Christmas cards in the post or hand delivering them to the residents of the town as they can within X amount of time. Or there's also the tradition that everybody in the town gets together on Christmas Eve, puts their pajamas on, gets a lovely cozy drink, and all goes to the cinema and watches It's a Wonderful Life together. That's one of my favourite Christmas films, and that would become one of my favourite Christmas traditions if that town was real. Another book of Portia's that I absolutely adored is Faking It, which features twins Emma and Ella. Yes, that is really their names. Emma goes to jail for a kind of a petty crime, and Ella is left then to take over Emma's life. It turns out, though, that Emma's life is not the glistening thing that she's putting out as a front. Her kids don't like her, her marriage is kind of falling apart, her job is not going as well as she wanted it to. The only person who knows that Emma and Ella have swapped lives is Emma's husband, and everybody else is kind of hoodwinked about it, but Ella is trying not to get caught up in what's really happening. If you are a fan of the cozy village vibe and characters that you all know and love, but you would like to see the characters appear again in other books, then I definitely recommend Heidi Swain. Heidi is an author of a couple of series, but ones that really stand out to me are the Windbridge series. This has, at the moment, I think 6 books in there, and they are all such wonderful reads, especially because they are set in kind of cozy cafes or a Christmas tree market or a restaurant, and they're all kind of set beside the sea. So if that's the vibe that you're going for, absolutely check this one out. Sometimes you just nail it first try, and for me, Heidi really did nail it first try with her very first book and the first book in the previously mentioned Windbridge series, The Cherry Tree Cafe. In this book, Gemma is expecting a marriage proposal and for her job to give her a promotion, but actually life kind of throws a bit of a curveball. When all of this happens, she decides that the best thing for her to do is to go back home to the little village that she grew up in and recuperate, take a step back, and try and realize what she wants out of life. Her best friend Gemma also comes back to the village, and the two of them put their heads together. They decide that with Gemma's sewing skills and with Lizzie's baking skills, the best thing for them to do is to kind of go into business together and open up a cafe, the Cherry Tree Cafe, and kind of bring a little bit of life back into the village that they knew and love. Another gorgeous series of Heidi's is the Weymouth series, not the Windbridge, the Weymouth. These are another kind of little small town where everybody knows everybody, and it's got such a cozy feeling in it that I love curling up with a book and a cup of tea here. One of my standouts in this series is Underneath the Christmas Tree. I read it last year at Christmas time, and the whole time I just had Kelly Clarkson's Underneath the Tree singing in my head. Liza's father has just passed away, and with that she has been left with their Christmas tree farm business. Things are starting to spiral out for her, and she's not particularly sure how to keep the business running, what she should do. So she goes into business with Ned, who has just arrived into the area, and of course, sparks start to fly between the two of them. So you want to keep these cozy vibes, you want to keep the kind of clean romance, but you'd like to travel a little bit further around the world. No problem. You should definitely go and check out the Romantic Escape series by Julie Kaplan, who I have absolutely loved reading the last couple of years. Especially during a pandemic, traveling is not super easy at the moment, so if you want to get a little bit out there and see what's around the world, travel fiction is definitely your way to go. Luckily, Julie's books bring you pretty much right around the world. There's one set in Copenhagen, one in Brooklyn in New York, one in Paris. You have got Croatia, Japan, Ireland, and there's definitely another one that I can't remember at the moment. But there are so many wonderful books in this series. Quite a lot of them have to do with food. So you've got books that are set in bakeries, you've got books that are set in cafes, you've got a cafe owner, you have got a group of food journalists who are taking a tour around the city of Copenhagen, learning about the food history of the city and all of the cafes that the city has to offer. There's a cookery school in Ireland that one of the characters is returning to and learning the tricks of the trade here. Much like Heidi's books, there is a couple of crossover characters in some of the books. So you might have had the side character in this book becoming the main character here, or the main character in this book will turn up here as a side character or is mentioned that things are going well or so on in their lives. I really love that kind of community in a book when you all focus around just one universe. It really draws me into a story. If that traveling wasn't enough for you and you want to see a little bit more of the world, then go and check out Isabel Broom. All of her books are pretty much standalones, but like before, some characters can be mentioned across other books. I have at one stage read a book of Isabel's, thought that I recognized one of the characters from before and asked her, and she said, "You are genuinely the first person to have put that together." Much like Julie Kaplan's books, these take place all across the world. You have got a couple of more exotic and far-flung adventures here though. Isabel has set her books in places like Southeast Asia, Spain, Italy, Greece, Prague, New Zealand, and Croatia, and I am so excited to see where she's going to bring me next. These are just some of the romance authors that I absolutely love, that I genuinely think more people need to hear about. Who are your underrated favourites when it comes to authors? Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.